Okay, so this is the projector that comes with the kit from TRS. Okay, now what these plates are right here is what your screws are going to thread into your projector housing. Now TRS instructions state that the supplied screws that they gave you, I believe they're 4mm screws, are supposed to self-thread into these mounting brackets here. I found out that the bottom bracket will thread in. However, the top bracket here is actually a thicker metal. If you can see it, that's the top bracket, and there's your bottom bracket. The bottom is much thinner, so when I tried to self-thread the screw into the top bracket, I actually ended up destroying the screw. So I really recommend that you don't try to do that. What I ended up doing is going out and buying a set of 6/32 screws and lock nuts, and I'm going to use those smaller size screws in the top mounting plate here. I realize it's two different size screws, but it's better than trying to drill the mounting bracket out in order to use the supplied screws. Okay, so for the top, actually the bottom, we are going to take the supplied screws from TRS and screw them in. Now, even though they do thread into the mounting bracket, we are still going to use lock nuts on them. Here's another problem I encountered. Trying to get a lock nut down inside on that is nearly impossible. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the screws in from the back. You will have a little stud sticking out, but your projector shroud actually covers this up, so it's really not a big deal. We're going to put the bottom lock nuts on now. Switch over to our 7mm socket. Projector installed. Clean the inside of our lens first before we put it back together. Make sure you hit it with a microfiber so there's no smears anywhere. Next we're going to clean our projector housing or shroud. I recommend just using the microfiber on this, nothing wet. Okay, so now we are going to put our projector shroud back into the lens. We're going to get our 4 screws that have the notches on the end of them. set that aside somewhere so it doesn't get dust inside of it. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take our projector and projector housing and mount it back into your headlight. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our screw that goes on the bottom of this ball joint mount and stick that in there. Get that into the right position here. Okay, now we're going to start tightening up our adjustment screws. Should be an 8mm. You kind of want to walk these in nice and evenly. You don't want to tighten one all the way and then tighten the other one. You may snap your projector housing in half. You really don't want to tighten these screws up all the way anyway, because you will end up loosening them a bit when you go to align your projector. Make sure your ball joint is going into its mount correctly. Go ahead and get that bottom screw through the hole that you drilled. Nice and tight. And get your top screw in there. Alright, now we're going to start the process to seal this headlight back up. I went to Home Depot and bought some butyl tape. This huge roll was about 20 bucks, maybe 15 I think. Honestly, I would recommend just buying the glue that TRS sells you. I think it's like 10 bucks or 15 bucks or something. I ended up having to cut sections off of this since this roll is way too huge, and yep, so that's what I'm going to use. A lot of the glue is still going to be left over, so parts that have quite a bit still here, I'm just going to leave it. Should be okay. I'm mainly going to focus on sections that don't have very much left there. So what you're going to do is find one of those sections, cut off a piece of tape that length. Peel the backing off. We're going to roll it a little bit so that it has something to stick to. Okay, and then we're going to take it, line it up for our section that we're putting it in. Go ahead and stick it in there. And I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver, kind of get it in there real good. Split it apart so that the actual lens has something to slide into still. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here very well, but I'm running the screwdriver down the center of it and sticking the edges to the outside edges of the seam here where the lens goes in. Okay, and you're going to want to go ahead and do that around all the spots where it doesn't seem like there's very much glue left, because just one little space, one open space, will let some moisture come in, and you do not want condensation on the inside of your headlight. You will have to resplit it and reseal it. Alright, we're going to go ahead and finish sealing it up and throw her in the oven. Okay, so before you glue everything back together, you're going to want to make sure that you got everything nice and wiped down. Inside of your lens is good and clean. All of your reflector bowls are nice and polished here, no fingerprints or anything. The last thing you want to have is a fingerprint on the inside and have to re-split your headlight open. Go ahead and wipe everything down with the microfiber real nice. Make sure your projector bowl is nice and polished. Of course, the inside should be good to go still. Yep, so make sure everything's good and clean. Once you got that all done, we're going to want to dry fit the lens onto the headlight housing here before we bake it. We're going to try and press it in here as best as possible while it's cold. You just want to get it as best as you can. Don't go forcing anything super hard and breaking anything. Okay, now if it just so happens that you can get your headlight tight enough on the dry fit to where you can get a screw in anywhere, go ahead and put that in before you bake. It will help to suck it down on there for the first baking session. I like to use a set of channel locks. Just make sure you got a towel or something as a buffer for the lens side. Okay, now we're going to start our baking session. Make sure you got your baking pan wrapped so the headlight's touching nothing that's going to get hot. We're going to set our oven to 225 again. We're going to do our first session for 7 minutes, and anything after that, we're only going to do 5 minutes. Okay, once again, you want to make sure you got your working station set up and ready to go, because you're going to want to get started right away. You're going to want to start where the screws go, so focus on that area. Make these good and tight. Also going to want to focus on getting these tabs back in.